Hi, and welcome to Moments of Magic. Tonight, we have not only a moment of magic, but an entire weekend that we've just spent doing some shamanic work with a group we've worked with for a long time. So, we have some stories to tell and some reflection on how sometimes when you line things up properly, good magic happens. So, Bob's going to tell you a little bit about his part of the story.
Good evening. Um, we went off to an event over the weekend that we do periodically, a couple of times a year. And we get together with people and we look at what our lives are like and how things are going and how everybody is doing and, sort of uh,
Do
take
ceremony.
take a moment to reflect. And it's a ceremonial event in a lot of ways. We have a sort of a picture of it here, which I guess I could show you so you have some idea of what it looks like. That's what it looks like, part of it. It has to do with a northern Peruvian shamanic practice. And anyway, it was, it's a 2.5 day event. And so it gets to be pretty intense after a while. And normally we deal with our own personal issues. But this time it turned out that some of it revolved around um, working with the earth as a whole and life on earth as a whole. And I think a lot of that was occasioned by, like the changes of energy that seem to be flowing right now and have been for about the last maybe year. And some of that probably has something to do with the end of the pandemic, and some of it has to do with the alignment of forces in the universe. And some of it might even have to do with, the energies that are produced by us as a total group. And we all had different reactions to it. There were 11 of us there. And
Interesting number.
and yeah, it was 11, 11, and 11 on 10. And actually the leader, I guess, or the presenter of the process actually probably had the most profound experience of all, I think, just because it was interesting how it sort of blossomed. The whole thing just kind of blossomed, and it got um, intense in different ways. And I think it was surprising for everybody and and for all of us. And it just, it was like slow magic. It was like standing over the pot and stirring and stirring and stirring until stuff started to realize itself. And I in the the end part, I think, was sort of we had this feeling that we had started a process amongst the 11 of us and all the people that we are in contact with over time and in space to, you know, start looking at stuff holistically, start looking at the world as a whole place rather than, well, there's this going on there and there's this thing happening there and there's an earthquake over there. And, that way we kind of sort of look at it in pieces. We looked at it as a whole and how the whole is actually all interconnected. Um, it was, it's difficult to explain because it was in a lot of ways magical. If you remember, our first thing of magic that I think that we presented was the rainbow that we drove underneath on our way back from Tucson a year ago or so. Um, it's that was a sort of a particular thing, and something that we've all shared. All of us have seen rainbows. Not that many people have been able to actually drive underneath them. which we actually did. We drove underneath to the point where it was behind us and disappeared. And it was a slow experience like that, hard to explain, but something that we could all share. Do you have a specific
Well,
instance?
for me, it was, we worked the grid. One of my friends who's in the group has what's now a cloth. She started out with paper, but what's now a piece of cloth with the planet on it. It flattened out, of course, and all of the ley lines and how they connect and where they connect. And
There it is, right there. You can actually see some of the lines on there that connect. And these are not necessary. These were her ley lines that she drew, rather
these
than
are, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so we worked ceremonially with these ley lines for an entire morning, and it just came out of serendipity, and it was one of the more powerful ceremonies I've ever been involved in. And that circle he showed you at the beginning, where all the stones that were placed on that map, just doing the healing work. And the next day we took the stones out and we made the circle, and that the circle is where the healing gets done in this particular ceremony. And it was so beautiful to see everyone drop into their hearts and just do what they could to affect magic on the whole. And then when we did the personal healing, I got the sense that although we were talking about personal issues, we were really, whatever our issue was, whatever we were working with, we were working on it for the whole. And it became very obvious to me, like the person in the center that's talking about loneliness, or that's talking about forgiveness, or that's talking about whatever your issue of wanting to feel joy, whatever they were talking about, they were calling that in not only for themselves, but for the whole. And it just brought up the whole, your healing is my healing. And when we do healing work on ourselves, we have no idea how much it can radiate out into the whole. So it was really, truly a magical, and it felt, you could almost see, as we're working with the planets, you could actually see the energy rise. If that, and again, it's very hard to explain these things in actual words, because it sort of diminishes what was happening. But what was happening really was people who selflessly decided, I need to put my prayers into this place on the earth, and by doing that, have the whole rise. Or I need to do my personal healing or my personal forgiveness, and by doing that, I rise and everybody rises, because we are connected. And so that was our moment of magic for this weekend. It was hard to explain. It lasted for the whole weekend, and it left a really beautiful feeling of hope.
Completion, in a way.
Completion, and for me, hope. So that's what I would offer you guys, is underneath all the seeming craziness, there are seeds of hope that have been planted. And I know we aren't the only people that were doing that work. So anyway, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next Thursday at 7. And yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll have run into another moment of magic.
Always. Thank you.